Welcome to my review of Pokemon Journeys, episode 30, Pikachu's Reluctance and Mr. Mime's Exasperation. Okay, so going into this episode, it was always going to be an uphill battle for me. When the summary and stuff came out for this episode, I was not a fan of the idea that Pikachu of all Pokemon would be jealous of Riolu, when Pikachu is the only Pokemon to consistently go with Ash to every region, and it went through stuff like Ash Greninja. So how did they do? Riolu wins against the trainer from a Vermilion Gym, nice to see him again. Pikachu gets all pumped up for the next match too. But Ash says he wants to keep using Riolu to fight for the next one. Riolu keeps training against Pokemon later, not letting Pikachu get a chance. I mean, you know, why doesn't Pikachu just train with Riolu like last week, you know? Ash keeps on using Riolu until the evening. After Ash wakes Pikachu up and Pikachu shocks him, Ash's mum Delia is in town to meet a friend, and she cooks them all a massive meal. And after that, Riolu wants to train some more with Ash, so they go to do that. Everyone comments on it, and Delia says it's like Ash, and asks Pikachu about it, and Pikachu is sulking. Kaharu actually suggests that Pikachu might be jealous like Yamper was. So that's some payoff from last episode. Delia gives Go, Kaharu, and Sakuragi the story of how Ash and Pikachu met. Pikachu stays with Delia that night, being upset. She sings a song to him, and they both fall asleep. It's a pretty beautiful scene, to be honest. The next morning, Delia is off home to Pallet Town, and Pikachu is up just as she leaves. Ash and Riolu go off to train some more, and after Ash disregards Pikachu doesn't take kindly to it and chases off after Delia, with Mr. Mime following. They leave Vermilion City and run across the Kanto countryside. Pikachu jumps into river eager to cross, but gets washed away. Mr. Mime has to save him by jumping in. But like, you psychic, mate? They get further along when Mr. Mime sees a hitchhiker, so they give it a shot, and Pikachu gets a truck driver to stop for them. And they almost sneak past Pallet Town, so the truck driver stops to let them out. They feel tired and hungry, so Pikachu brings down a Lumberry which a Spearow steals. Mr. Mime gets it back with Psychic, but it calls in a flock of Spearow. In a callback to the first episode of the anime, Pikachu jumps in front of Mr. Mime and shocks them all. And Pikachu remembers when Ash tried to protect him. They get back to Ash's home, and Ash was inside and comes out as they turn around to go back to Vermilion. Ash apologizes to Pikachu for making Pikachu feel lonely, and he even says that Kaharu had a go at him, which is kinda based. He apologizes so Pikachu hugs him and gives him a shock. He apologizes so Pikachu goes to hug him, but also gives him a little shock. Delia has a go at Pikachu too, which is very well earned, so they spend the night at Ash's home, with Go saying he'll look after Ash. That night, Ash says he'll thank Mr. Mime again tomorrow. Pikachu rolls over and Ash strokes him and sings Pikachu the same song that Delia sung. They sing together. Alright, this episode has me so mixed up. It has plenty of amazing moments, but it also has a lot of bad, so I'll start with the bad, to be honest. So sadly, Ash and Pikachu are completely out of character. I'm sorry. Ash neglecting Pikachu like that is a load of crap. He wouldn't do that. That's his oldest partner and best friend, and he should absolutely know how Pikachu feels. But he has a blatant disregard for it. And he wouldn't even go check where Pikachu is before bedtime? Huh? Like, what's going on there? Pikachu also has no right to be this pissy. Riolu is arguably Ash's weakest Pokemon at the moment, though maybe Farfetch'd is now. It makes sense that Ash would want to train it, because they're going up against the World Championships, against the world, trying to beat the world's strongest Pokemon trainer. And we've had more thorough training arcs than what Riolu's had. Running away from Ash over that feels so contrived. As I said earlier, if Pikachu went through stuff like Ash Greninja, it's a hard sell for Pikachu being jealous over Riolu here. To go slightly more positive, the jealousy idea was not played out the same as Yamper's, which is great. It's a little repetitive to do it the episode after Yamper's jealousy, but it's different enough to make me feel fine with it. And now on to actual positives. This episode is filled with great scenes. Both Ash and Delia singing to Pikachu scenes were fantastic. It's a good way to bookend each day this episode takes place over, as the context behind of why their singing changes. Delia was more to calm down Pikachu, while Ash was, well, basically singing to his partner who he's been missing for a day or so. Mr. Mime looking after Pikachu in the world was pretty great. Mr. Mime was there to keep Pikachu safe and maybe try to get a return home. They worked well as a duo and had some fun and comedic moments together, like the hitchhiking scene. It's very likely that Mr. Mime and Pikachu maybe have kind of like a parent-child relationship, because it's Delia and Ash's Pokemon, like separately, right? So maybe they do have that parent-child relationship. This episode also works well as a Pokemon going on an adventure together. They've both been through a lot when they fall asleep as well, which looks really cute. I think the recreation of the Spearow attack felt a little contrived. I'll also give it points for it being Pikachu realizing that Ash loves him. And, you know, Pikachu would have strolled back to Vermilion City if Ash didn't come out from the house. And you know what? It's a good thing that Ash knew that Pikachu would go there. Shows he still understands his Pokemon. Both Ash and Pikachu are treated in the wrong for this whole mess. Which they are, because they are both written out of character. If they tried to pin all on Ash or Pikachu, I'd have been more upset, but you know what? It's very good that both were kind of like to blame for this. As for other things in the episode, Go is the first companion since Max and May to go to Ash's house. That's really weird to think about, isn't it? Also, he sleeps in Ash's room. Did he see Ash's accomplishments like the Alola League trophy? We don't know. It's also very nice seeing Sobble constantly hang out with him too. It's probably expected since it's a Gala starter, but it's pleasant to see. And I maybe wish that Reboot tried to do more, but that's wishing for something that isn't the focus of the episode. Since Pikachu and Reboot are friends, you know, it's just been cool to see Reboot try to help Pikachu through this situation. Kaharu had a role too. She was the one to even bring up jealousy. And while we didn't see the fact that she grilled Ash over not understanding how Pikachu feels, it's very good to know that she did it. And you know what, if she can criticize Ash for it, he deserves to be criticized. Riolu also did nothing wrong here. It just wants to get strong. I like that Riolu wasn't actually blamed for anything, and the jealousy more comes from Pikachu being neglected by Ash for like 5 minutes. It's also kind of funny how it's not there at the last dinner scene. In conclusion, I like this episode in a vacuum. I think it tells a pretty good story about neglect and a misunderstanding between partners. The problems comes from the fact that this is after 1,000 episodes of Ash and Pikachu being the closest partners you could imagine. It just doesn't work as well as it could, despite the legitimately good elements of the episode. I love the scenes where they make up, but the fact they both had to be out of character for it makes me upset. I want to say that Ash and Pikachu came out of this episode closer than ever, but it just restores the status quo.